So Rick is trying to call in.
Nice.
And it's not working out, and it just worked for our previous caller, so I just don't know if there's anything we need to do here that might...
I don't know. It's probably Rick's phone. Something's wrong with him. I don't know what his problem is. But it is 5. I wish he would call in. Rick! What up? What up,
Oh,
man?
it did work. Okay, so I'm a dick.
So are you feeling at all any better?
I'm well enough to call and talk to you guys.
See, he is a trooper. We were talking about what a trooper you are. Deborah was in here. She came by for the first 15 minutes of the show specifically to support you and say that she thinks it's bullshit that everybody kind of gives you shit for everything that you try to do.
We got your back, Rick.
And she was talking about this weekend's onslaught of crap on Facebook.
Fuck the haters.
Yep.
Yeah, and I appreciate the support that I got from both of the two of you. Lots of support came from a bunch of different corners of the community, from people even outside our own state who saw what was going on and decided to jump in and take a positive stand. And I appreciate everybody,
including the former editor-in-chief of High Times magazine, chimed in and said, "Oh no, Rick's a good dude. I've known him since 2008."
I didn't see that yet. Nice.
Nope. Well, his name is Malcolm McKinnon on there, and he's really a world-class photographer as well. But he chimed in because he's known Rick for a long time, and that was meaningful, and that was cool.
I see it as good publicity, man. You know, when assholes, especially when they obviously sound like they don't know what they're talking about, like want to cause a lot of attention. It's only going to be good for you, man. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, when it comes down to it, a lot of people were angry about the fact that I had a copy of the emergency rules before everybody else did. But if you look at the course of the postings on Sunday, about a dozen people took screenshots of their own copies of the same emergency rules that they had. And even if they were doing it just to prove that I'm not special and I ain't nobody, and they've got what I got, so Rick Thompson's just a dick. That's the point. Was those rules have been shared by a lot of people in a lot of different venues. They weren't really secret, and there really was no reason to prevent us from releasing them on Sunday. So, MICBD group and myself did make an arrangement with the Bureau of Medical Marijuana Regulation, and we honor our promises, and we agreed not to distribute it, and we didn't. So,
and then the final draft was put out the next day.
It surely was.
Rick,
less than 24 hours after our conference ended, the rules were published. So, kind of like, why make us wait? But whatever. I'm not going to worry about it.
That's right.
I would like to say something. I received an email today from Students for Sensible Drug Policy that reminds us 84 years ago today, alcohol prohibition was repealed in the United States with the ramification of the 21st Amendment. So today is a day to celebrate ending prohibition in one way or another. And we certainly are working hard towards ending prohibition on the cannabis level. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. And if I'm not mistaken, although Michigan will not be the first, Michigan was the state that initiated lifting prohibition for alcohol.
It was the first
I
state?
believe that Michigan.
Yep.
Whoa.
Group, I think it was, and if I'm also not mistaken, because this is one of Sharmy's favorite stories, it was a group of angry women who decided to band together and do something because they didn't like the shit that was happening.
Well,
or something like that, I don't know. I'm sure a woman did all the great things and made everything happen at some point, even if behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I'd like to read is another email I received today, December 5th, 2017, from the National Director of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I happen to be on the board of directors of the Michigan chapter. There's our Tom Levine and Matt Abel and some of the other fantastic folks, Adam Brook as well. And it totals some of the things NORML has accomplished over the last year. They have 160 total NORML chapters. Did you know that? 160 chapters, 24 statewide lobby days, over 1,200 media articles featuring NORML spokesperson, 500 plus NORML legal committee members, 135,000 letters generated to state lawmakers, and 224,000 letters generated to congressional lawmakers, plus more than 200 meetings with members of Congress and their staff. So when you talk about trying to align yourself with people that are doing good work to end prohibition, like we talked about, Students for Sensible Drug Policy is a great great organization that's worthy. Americans for Safe Access is another organization that's very worthy, and so is National Normal. So on a day when we're looking at the end of alcohol prohibition, let's look at the people that are really bringing about the end of cannabis prohibition, and let's throw our support behind those motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you, man. So can I ask you, Rick, did you call in just now because you heard me reading the news terribly? Or was it just coincidental there?
He finally got to the point where he could call in, and he's a trooper, and he made sure that he was right there as soon as he could be.
He was listening to me tank it. He was like, all right, I'm going to call in and do the news.
No, I had not been listening to the show. I apologize. I'm very sorry that I didn't listen to the show earlier.
No, that's okay.
I was just not capable.
Hey, man, whenever we gotta just know that if whatever you're doing is going to be good for the movement.
He needs some time to plot how to hurt patients and caregivers and to rip people off.
I think today he's kind of. Hopefully, I don't put you out here, but I think today you're kind of showing that you are a patient. You still are a patient. Yeah. So that's the most outrageous part about it. Okay,
a lot of people have no clue. Rick's one of these guys that was out there early on. His name's been out there. He's kept it perpetuated by being an active player and having these really good media sources. And so some people know the name, but they know nothing about the person behind it and imagine all types of weird shit. And it comes with the territory a little bit.
Hell yeah, that's a good thing, man. If you didn't have haters, you wouldn't be nobody.
And if anybody's never seen me, I'm built like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So I'm white and I have hair, but other than that, I'm just about his body style. So picture that.
Yeah. It's all right. We can say whatever we want on the radio, man.
That's right. I know, but still, I feel a stupid, ridiculous sense of obligation to straighten the record out, so everybody knows I'm just joking. But
well, they can get a chance to see you themselves this Saturday, right?
Yeah, we've had a call in from TK from Black Sheep Productions, and they are putting on Cushmas, and you and I will be there along with Andre from Fried Egg Productions and Sons of Hemp, discussing the climate of marijuana in Michigan.
Andre Godwin's a good guy. Here's another person, this one in the city of Detroit, who happens to donate an awful lot of his time, energy, and effort, and probably his personal wealth, too, in order to advance marijuana law reform in his city and in the state. So you got to take your hats off to people that are doing it without getting paid for it.
And the extra focus of lifting minority involvement, too, which is one of the things he's really working for.
I didn't emphasize that. I didn't even think about that. But you're right, Andre does stand up for minority business issues as well. But, I love lawyers, but some lawyers only get involved when there's a client interest. Or Jamie and I have observed that you can see a lawyer who has one position in January and a different position in July simply because they picked up a different client. So I have a lot of respect for people who donated long-term periods of their life to activism where they're not receiving a return on investment. A couple things come to mind. Certainly Cannabis Council down in Detroit, they've donated their facility towards, hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating when I say hundreds of different events over the last 7-8 years to different cannabis law reform things. And I also think of Michael Camoran, who pursued a case against the Michigan State Police Crime Lab, which well exceeded his obligation and responsibility to his client, and really became something that larger than himself, larger than the case before him, as he uncovered a situation of corruption and improper procedure at probably the state's most important place where there is proper policy and proper procedure. So when I look at people like that gives me cause and hope to be happy because our state has a lot of champions in it.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I agree.
Couldn't have said better. Did you have
That's why it's kind of strange. You saw that there was a posting recently, and somebody asked, who do you think are the top 10 to 15, kind of activist personalities, famous or infamous, in Michigan? And it's such a loaded question, and it's difficult to even get through some kind of a list like that. So many people have done what they can over the years, and it's all been helpful. And So a couple of us have been in the position where we can like kind of make it a focus. That's cool, you know. Some others jump in when they can, and they really make a difference. So it's hard to like make up this kind of a list, but we can all recognize that it's working. We're moving in the right direction.
Well, if you do win a championship, just like any like pro team, you know, it's hard to go back and like look at all the tiny small things that happened to achieve each little victory that led to the giant victory. But I think everybody knows that it took a lot of small victories from a lot of people that we might not even recall.
Yeah. That's true. A couple steps back a few times to go forward again, and all types of shit happen.
People willing to lose.
The nature of awards is exclusionary because you're giving something to some person that you're not giving to another person. And the perception of value, who wins, who loses, it's very subjective to the judging. So, you know, I appreciate it. I've won a couple of awards over the years, and I'm grateful for those things. And I'm always very appreciative of the people that came in second or third or fourth that didn't receive a Crystal Trichome Award or didn't get named Activist of the Year by the Weblog. So
yeah, that would be me.
Well, you actually received the High Times Trailblazer Award, and you've been awarded several other.
Yeah, I've had some other awards, but I haven't had either one of those, and I'm still kind of thinking about that a little bit.
Crystal Trichome was one and done, so you'll never get that. And the Weed Blog changed hands and ownership, so that'll never be awarded the same way it was before. So those are things that could never be duplicated.
So you're rubbing it in, okay?
Untouchable.
Yeah. So the thing is, awards that have a durability that are awarded year after year after year, those are valuable because they get recognition and they get appreciation. So the awards that I've won are nice, but they're not of the durable kind. When High Times Magazine gives you an award and they award trailblazers on a regular basis, that means a little bit more. So I'm not trying to disrespect anyone that's awarded me in the past, but what Jamie accomplished with High Times Magazine is not to be minimized. It's an excellent publication, and they have an entire breadth of people across the United States to recognize. And if they choose you, damn, that means something, buddy. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, good for High Times too, man. They've been a force and a solid voice even through some pretty tough times and some pretty opposing times when there's been a lot of support, you know, on the opposite side to kind of keep the stigma alive and keep really negative reactions to cannabis use and activity. And they've been there without regret and have maintained a solid place for people to go to who also feel like that and want a comfortable place where they can express themselves over the years. Now, years later, the majority is in support of legalization and support of medical marijuana, but they were a solid foundation that's just been there throughout.
You know, the print media struggles in 2017, you know, because electronic format is becoming so prevalent, not just in the third world, but even in the developing world too. I always recall in the 70s and 80s, you know, getting my hands on a High Times magazine and reading it from cover to cover. Because, well, not in the 70s, that would really date me. I was really a tiny kid back then. But when you start talking about a historical perspective, that magazine has one. And in the developing world, copies of magazines sometimes circulate for years and years and years among people. So one copy of High Times could have reached hundreds of people in certain places. So their influence on the development of pro-cannabis attitudes in people across the entire globe, I mean, that can't be understated. And it's also a brand that I think has enough recognition that it can survive the transition from a primarily print media into an electronic format. They've done a great job with the conferences and conventions. The business conference Jamie and I attended in Washington, D.C., which I think was in 2016, was top-notch, just really well done. These people have leadership that is forward-thinking and will be able to keep their message going throughout the 20-teens and into the 2020s. I don't expect High Times Magazine to shrink and fade like a flower. Not at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there.
People are already looking forward to next year's Cup. I've had a couple conversations recently about it. That's their thing these days, it seems like.
Well, I fucked up as a judge, so hopefully they let me do that again.
They may or may not. They take that kind of shit into consideration these days, it seems like.
They take their shit seriously, man. They do take their shit. At least everybody knows that. All the enterers know that they take their shit seriously.
Well, there's controversy along those lines, but being on the inside of it for a few contests, it at least appears that they take a lot of different input from those who are judging and some other methods that they have, like testing and stuff, and they have a formula, and that's kind of what decides. There are people who accuse them of kind of gravitating toward who's putting in the most money and that kind of stuff. I haven't seen any evidence of that. Of course, you can always be conspiratorial about money, and somebody would kind of believe it, but it seems like it's a pretty well thought out system to me.
Hey, Rick, while we got you on the phone, did you have any more thoughts? I know you might not want to be on for too long today, so I wanted to make sure.
We're going to go to a break, but you're welcome to stay on to take us through the rest of the show. It would be appreciated, but nobody wants to put any undue pressure or stress on you. I know that you're not the best today.
Yeah, I'm not at my prime, but I'll try and hang on for a while, guys. The only other thought that I would have is that I wish success on all the other people that are doing these small business conferences similar to the one that Jamie and I just held on Sunday. We had very good media coverage, WLNS from Lansing and WZZM, Grand Rapids, and some other places too. There's a lot of people occupying the educational field at this point, and you know, there's plenty of room for everybody. I'm not hating on anybody that has stepped into this particular sphere that I'm working with now. So just best wishes to all the people that are doing their own conferences, and I certainly hope all the attendees are able to get information that helps them make smart business decisions when they try to enter the MMFLA program, or whether or not they're able to enter the MMFLA program. So that's my only comment on that.
We covered that there's two coming up this weekend, one with Barton Morris and Craig Aronoff and the Cannabis Legal Group in Detroit, and one with Jamie Cooper's group in East Lansing.
Right.
And the MICBD series.
I hope,
yep. And we talked about how the MICBD series is wrapped for 2017, but I also went on to describe why it's the best.
So,
just so you know.
Before the break, normally I got some surprises for the listeners, but today got some surprises for my co-hosts here. This one for Rick and Jamie. There's this musician coming into town on December 22nd. Goes by the name of Derek St Holmes. All right.
Ooh.
All right. I wanted to extend an invitation to you guys and all of our listeners that we should all go down to the Token Lounge.
I'm down.
And listen to Derek shred it. He's with a new band called Whitford St Holmes, and they're killing it.
Yep.
So I'm gonna play this next track here for Jamie for this break.
Hey, let's let people know. I mean, you should already know, of course.
Everybody should know.
But Derek he got his break, Derek St. Holmes, or got his most notoriety touring around with Ted Nugent as like the primary voice for a lot of those hit songs when Ted was coming of age. So he's kept it going. He is a real long-time seasoned veteran rocker. He is awesome.
Yeah, people don't know that he actually sings Stranglehold.
Yep.
He wrote Stranglehold, which is one of the biggest hits. And for somebody like Ted Nugent to let you do that on one of his biggest albums is pretty sweet, man.
Yep.
It's pretty freaking sweet. I should also go ahead, Rick.
I think Derek St. Holmes was in the band Rainbow for a while with the awesome Richie Blackmore. Derek St. Holmes has been around. He's hit a couple of different bands. He's got some street cred, no doubt.
I should add that his first band that he ever played in when he was 16 years old was right here in Detroit, and the lead singer was my grandmother, Ruth Barnhill. They played in a bar band. My grandmother snuck him into all these bars as her lead guitar player. It's actually my grandmother's cousin. So I'm just adding that, and then I'm about to drop the track,
That's some awesome history, man. I appreciate
history.
it. Token Lounge.
Yeah.
Will be the destination.
December 22nd. We'll all be there. You guys got to come with me. It means you
I'm
too,
down.
Rick. All right.
I'll do my best.
All right. Well, after the break, we'll see you back. That was for you guys and myself, mainly. We're lucky enough to still have Rick here on the Jazz Cabbage Cafe. How's it going, brother?
Maybe you spoke too soon. I don't know.
Rick, are you still there?
No, I'm here. I just had you on mute is all.
Oh, that's good. And Jamie is still here as well. What's
Barely,
up?
But yes, I am.
You made it. Our breaks, as you've noticed this week, are a little shorter than normal, and that's because the polar vortex that is supposedly taking over our state is making it harder and harder to deal with this.
I have to come better prepared for breaks.
Yes. Rick is lucky enough to be in the warmth of his home, I suppose. I don't know. Is that true?
Are you standing outside?
Repeat the question to me, would you?
Are you standing outside, scantily clad right now?
No, I'm not. I'm scantily clad inside, and my neighbors appreciate that.
And you are warm, though.
Yeah, I am actually very warm.
No additional shrinkage from any act of God or anything like that.
The only thing that's shrinking is his doobie. Oh.
The only thing, it would take an act of God to shrink me. That's all I'm saying. Hey, I want to say one other comment about a news item today. The Surgeon General talked about cannabis deserving further medical research during a speech to the National Black Caucus of State Legislators in Indianapolis. U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams voiced clear support for further research into the medical benefits of cannabis. He said, and I quote, "Medical marijuana, I believe it should be like any other drug. We need to let the FDA vet it, study it. The FDA has actually approved cannabidiol oil and some derivatives of marijuana." He continued to articulate his opposition to both smoking cannabis and adult use marijuana, but emphasized marijuana is not one substance. It's actually over 100 different substances. So I want to get excited about the Surgeon General saying, yes, we should talk about cannabis more. But when he says things like, let's break it down into over 100 different substances and let the FDA vet it and study it, we're already in the process of that. And all that's done is legitimize GW Pharma's individual treatments, which are not whole plant medicines, which don't take into account the presence of THC as a medicinal property. So I want to get excited about a Surgeon General that says yes to marijuana law reform, but I'm also very concerned about the reservations he expressed about the medical nature of the plant.
Now that's I mean, a few years ago, for the Surgeon General to be talking like that. In fact, the guy who was appointed by Obama did say kind of stuff like that. Maybe even a little bit better. I'm not sure. Well,
Everett Koop was his name, yes.
Well, see, Everett Koop was under like Reagan or something like that.
Yeah.
Many moons ago. I'm talking about the dude who was the dude who was under Obama, spoke pretty rationally about research and things like that as well. But that would sound okay if it wasn't so obviously geared toward it being a pharmaceutical drug or it being used to break into components to crush into pills to be pharmaceutical drugs, FDA approved. So,
right.
Yeah, that's it's cool that you're talking about maybe some kind of movement and acceptance, but the method and the fact that it would be and I don't mind that really, but if it implies in lieu of other ways of doing it as an herbal remedy where you keep it as a whole plant and do various things with it, then that's when the problems start coming in, as far as I'm concerned. And that's what they like to do, though.
And we heard that the other day. I was fortunate enough to host a gubernatorial town hall forum, gubernatorial candidate forum on the subject of marijuana law reform. And of the 5 people running for governor of the state of Michigan that were there, one of them was a physician. And Mr. Al-Sayed said that he was concerned because there wasn't enough information on dosing and we didn't have enough research done on cannabis. And that kind of an attitude is a half step towards marijuana law reform. It says, I like the concept, but I'm not ready to go there. And I don't think in 2017 we need politicians that aren't ready to go there. We have 26 medical states now. We have 9 legal states. I think there's adequate information on dosing out there. I think any candidate nowadays that says there's not enough information hasn't done their due diligence to do the research. And if there's a specific field they can cite where information is lacking, I'd like to talk about that field because I'm pretty sure we can find some information to satisfy their lack of knowledge in that. And dosing is an issue that's been talked about extensively in Colorado, Washington, Oregon, the Washington Liquor Control Commission, the Oregon Cannabis Control Commission. All of these people have done good diligence on this issue. We don't need to repeat.
And for the medibles, there's in Michigan there's a milligram amount limits on certain things. For everything else, there is not, and that's appropriate. Just somebody should just know what it is when they choose it, and see if it works with their particular situation. And
You've seen photos of the warning labels on Marinol bottles, right? Marinol is one of those chemical pharmaceutical drugs that
It's a THC. It's a synthetic THC, and it's for like nausea and appetite and things like that. Yep.
In the bottle itself, the warning label says, like, once you're used to the medicine, you can operate heavy machinery.
Something like that. Right, exactly. If you drive or use heavy machinery, see how it works with you first, or some message like that. Right, some warning that doesn't say just absolutely do not drive. It says see how it works with you.
The actual phrase is, I think, avoid operating heavy machinery until you're used to the effects of this drug, something along those lines. So even on the bottles that they give us from the government with the government stamped labels, it doesn't echo the same sense of concern that some of these candidates are expressing.
I agree.
That's pretty funny, actually. I had no idea that there was a Surgeon General warning from the government that was even close for anything for cannabis. So that's pretty interesting to know. It is very interesting to know because it seems like everybody should just kind of follow suit, knowing that eventually, if everything panned out after all these years and became federally legalized, then it'd probably kind of just go that way anyway, right?
I would think so. I think you're right, Derek. What we're seeing is the phrase crucibles of democracy is a statement that implies the ability of the states to do something, any one thing, in a variety of different ways. And then we determine on a federal level what were the best practices from all the different state programs we saw. And then we'll put together common sense federal policy based on the successes that we've seen. And we'll avoid some of the pitfalls that we saw in some of those state programs. So we have crucibles of democracy out there in all these different states. I believe it's actually 44 states that currently have some form of medical marijuana law, including the CBD-only states. So we're down to only 6 states that haven't recognized the validity of medical marijuana's effectiveness.
90% support nationally. That's even the people obviously the population in those states probably support it on some level.
Yeah.
So I have the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please, Jamie, go ahead.
I actually have the Marinol warning right here. Under precautions and then under hazardous activities. And I'll just paraphrase. Marinol can cause and may impair the mental and or physical abilities required for the performance of hazardous tasks, such as driving a motor vehicle or operating machinery. And then it says, inform patients not to operate motor vehicles or other dangerous machinery until they are reasonably certain that Marinol does not affect them adversely.
So they put the decision about whether they're affected adversely or not in the hands of the patient, which is as it should be.
Right.
How many different medical warning labels do we see that they take as needed or repeat as necessary? We put the responsibility for self-dosing in the hands of the patients on almost all of our medicines.
We used to, it seems like. I mean, at pharmacies, they used to compound FDA-approved drugs, and people would figure out, what's working for them and how, and try out kind of different ratios of a few things, and that's how it used to be. The pharmacist would kind of work with the patient and kind of customize the drug at some points. It's kind of like that with the herbal remedies and cannabis. In this case, you have to kind of figure it out. But now things are so corporatized and dosaged so specifically and all that kind of crap that I don't think that kind of care goes into it anymore.
Well, here's what I know. I look at different foodstuffs and medicines, and what companies do is they take the hottest new additive and they throw it in there and see what combinations work. I mean, we've seen acai berries. I don't even know how to pronounce it. ACAI.
Right.
Acai berry. When ginkgo first came out on the market, or when people started recognizing the advantages of guarana and some of the other things, we saw those type of things infused into a lot of different things like beverages and foodstuffs, and even some of them made it into shampoos and facial bars. As the marketplace explores what advantages and benefits those particular substances have, they let the market sort it out. They put it out there, and if people like the effect, then people buy it, and if they don't, then they stop producing it. Why wouldn't we use that same philosophy with cannabis, especially considering that there's no death associated with cannabis? People die more each year from eating tubes of toothpaste than they do from cannabis.
And from drinking water, too.
Now, are you talking about like euphoric products? Or are you talking because there is like a lot of hemp-based products for like tanning solutions and stuff like that.
Well, let me get back on track with his point right here, and that is, you are talking about, why aren't we using reason and logic on this issue? And no matter kind of what normal thing you place on the situation, when cannabis is introduced into the discussion, people freak out and don't act logically about it at all. And so this is another example of that, basically.
Well, and we talk about this when we do public speeches, Jamie and myself, all the time. The drug war was the largest public relations campaign ever perpetrated on the face of the earth, and it's reasonable to expect that it was pretty effective. So it's going to be tough for some people to shake that. I hate to use the word, but it's accurate, to shake the programming that the government did to them during the drug war to make them believe that marijuana is just this horrible drug. And then there's a second group of individuals whose livelihood is predicated upon maintaining cannabis's bad status. Those are people from the addiction professional industry, from law enforcement, from government, also from a prosecutorial perspective. When we see things like, what was the figure, Jamie? Like 60% of all of the work done by the Michigan State Police was testing for medical marijuana, testing marijuana. Is that correct?
40%.
Yep. So when we look at potentially dropping 40% of the workload for a whole lab full of people, well, it really is incumbent upon those people to not want to make that change in law so that they can keep their jobs. So sometimes the people that are speaking about this subject are speaking about it because they're trying to protect themselves or because they're trying to protect an industry. And that's where activism comes in. You can look at a lobbyist, and when he opens his mouth, you're kind of thinking he's just saying what his corporate client is intending him to say. But when a guy's there and he's not getting paid, and he's got nobody's, stamp on his back and nobody's hand up his ass, that's when you're really hearing some of the most real stories and some of the most real information. So, I like it when we have organizations like SSDT and ASA and Michigan Normal and National Normal, which are primarily constructed of volunteers who don't have a corporate viewpoint to express and to advance on the legislature. So, yay, activists.
And legalize.
Yay.
Yeah, that's true too. Right.
So again, we're homing in here in the last few minutes.
Rick, did you have any ideas that would be like a wonderful gift for somebody who smokes marijuana for Christmas? I mean, something that you could get somebody that goes beyond a weed leaf T-shirt.
And also, I concluded what the perfect gift already would be. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to exceed the perfect gift,
which was a THC product,
which is essentially a bag of pot and some papers.
Well, I will say in that letter I received from Michigan Normal that I read a little bit to you earlier today about the death or about the accomplishments of the national organization, they will give you a free Smoke Responsibly coffee mug if you make a donation to Normal. Now, I love coffee mugs. Yeah, I got about 30 of them, so they're taking up a bunch of space, but they're cool. I also love T-shirts. When we see cannabis-related T-shirts, I enjoy the opportunity to let my freak flag fly a little bit. The other thing is that don't be afraid to donate money to a charity or a cause in someone's name. So you can make a donation to Americans for Safe Access in Jamie Lowell's name and have that be your gift to him. It's a little difficult to unwrap that on Christmas morning under the tree, but the point is still there, that you thought of someone, you gave them a gift, and this was the gift of hopefully the end of prohibition. So Michigan Legalize has a fund that you can contribute to. The Committee to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol also has a fund you can contribute to.
Yep, which is regulatemi.org.
So there are several different ways you could make a donation on someone's behalf this season and do it. Or you could just go to my site on Zazzle and buy a bunch of my coffee mugs and T-shirts I already sell. That would be
cool. Dang.
So, yeah.
What are you dropping your price?